All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. It is Tuesday, February 14th of 2023 here. Valentine's Day. Do not forget to say happy Valentine's Day to your significant other or spouse. Might be the most important thing you hear on the show today. But that being said, happy to get going here. Happy to be back. Was not here yesterday. Thank you to Jordan for stepping in. I'm sure plenty of people like having Jordan back, original office hours host. Sometimes jumping on here, it feels like, I'm Didi Gregorius trying to take over from when Jeter retired, but nevertheless, do my best here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Andrew. I'm one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use SaberSim, answer any and all DFS related questions that come in the office hours channel, in our Discord server, or live in the YouTube chat. If you guys are not joined up in the Discord, there's a link in the description below. Highly recommend it. As always, a lot of good DFS conversation happening over there each and every day. But that being said, going to get SaberSim pulled up here, and we are just going to jump right in. So have a couple questions to get us going. We will see where we go from there. If anybody has any questions, now is always a good time to get those in. But one housekeeping item before we get started. There was a question last week from Patrick about whether or not we will have XFL support. We will not be supporting XFL. We will not have Sims. We will not have the slates loaded up in the app. So I just wanted to make sure I hit that there, because I did not get back to Patrick. But all right, first question here from Moose Crossing 9 said, is there a way to enter your lineups from SaberSim only using your phone? Yes, there is. I did send these tutorials to Moose Crossing, but just for anybody out there who ever has any of these like how-to type of questions, a great resource is our support documentation. If you go over to the settings drop down on the right-hand side, click this help button. It'll take you to our support page. And then you can go down to these frequently asked questions, hit view more here. It'll take you to like a library of articles and videos. And, there are 43 articles in this entire collection. What you could do, what I would just do is do a keyword. So I would just type like phone here in the top, and then it'll say, how can I get my lineups into my contest on DraftKings on my phone? How can I get my lineups into my contest on FanDuel on my phone? So this is a great place. These videos are short. You can click on these. This is probably like a 2-minute video, and we walk through how to do it on mobile. So I did send these to Moose Crossing. Let me know if you have any questions about it, but this is a great resource for anybody looking for like a how to use our app in any way, shape, or form. So going to get SaberSim pulled back up here. Going to keep rolling. Next question was from Jordan Vigo. This looks like it's actually about XFL. So Jordan Vigo said, how does smart randomness work for sports where SS isn't using Sims, XFL, college sports, etc.? So great question here for college sports specifically. I'm going to pull up what's a good one here. Let's do college. Well, I'll just use college basketball, for instance, here. So for college basketball, we do not have Sims. The slates are loaded up in the app with player IDs, with salaries. So you can use SaberSim to build as if it was a traditional optimizer. What a smart randomness slider is doing. So basically it is treating every player as if they are normally distributed, where their range of outcomes is the shape of a bell curve. You could, Google bell curve or I would just like Google like a bell curve and see what that looks like, see what the range of outcomes looks like. That is not, a true range of outcomes. This is why we like to sim all of the sports for all of the slates, because a lot of times the distributions are not so normal. What a randomness slider is doing is it is determining how wide from the distribution that it samples, basically. So the higher the randomness, the further that distribution gets closer to, like you have like 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations. I'm pretty sure it's like 99.7% of the bell curve. So taking in a wide range there. So the higher the randomness is, the further that distribution goes into the curve. So that is what the smart randomness slider does for any sport that we do not offer sims for. All right, good question there. Next question here from SL Pendy is my guess here. And the question says, if you are following the bankroll management rules using diversifiers and elevators, should you create different build for the different contest sizes, or do you use the largest contest to build all your lineups? Say you have 220 max and 2 single max. Okay, good question here. Gonna hover back to NBA for this one. So, for those of you guys not familiar with the profit plan, it is over on the YouTube channel. It is a great resource for contest selection. We love talking about it here, so I'm sure plenty of you have heard of it before. But for anybody who hasn't, you go over to YouTube, you go over to the homepage, this new here, start here first section, start winning more with our DFS profit plan. What it does is it basically suggests to create, to treat your single entry and 3 max contests as one build, and your 20 max and 150 max contest as a separate build. What SL Pendy here is asking is like, what if you have different types of 20 maxes and 150 maxes? How do you handle that? Good question. What I like to do personally is, if I have like I have a 20 max where the sliders are 248, and then I also have a 150 max over 50K where the sliders are like 2510. You can either do one and two things. You can either average them out. So maybe, it's like 248 and 2510. Maybe I use like 259, 249, or you can just take the sliders from the bigger contest. I will say that even on like a 5-game NBA slate like tonight, I don't love using sim diversity at 10. Sim diversity at 10 is taking single slate optimals and building the optimal construction from that, as opposed to where sim diversity is at 9, where it is taking a bucket of sims and using, the average from the average player, the average projection that player scores across the bucket. So, if one low projected guy has like a ceiling outcome, he can get into your lineups easier when the sim diversity is at 10. But if the sim diversity is at 9, he could have one really good game and then, maybe back to his average, which is fairly low. And that helps him to only come up at a better rate, where on a slate where the optimal is probably not needed. You're not going to need the optimal on a 5-game NBA slate most of the time. So I prefer to, keep that sim diversity at 9 for the most part in this way, but you can kind of average the correlation in ownership sliders based on the different contests, or use the highest setting. I think those are both fine options. And second part of the question, would you do one elevator build for like one set in a second elevator build? I would probably just do one. I would probably just do one elevator build and one diversifier build regardless. I wouldn't do 2 elevator builds or 2 diversifier builds. So that is the way I would think about it. I think that in a sport like basketball, a lot of times, you're going to be working on doing late swaps or late breaking news, and it's going to be really hard to run multiple builds. I think 2 is probably already hard enough to handle. Once we get into like 3, 4, I think it gets really, really hard. So I don't think you're losing too much by combining your elevators. All right. Next question here from Chase H. And Chase said, so Jordan talked yesterday about sim integrity, but that on big slates, it doesn't matter as much because there are so many viable lineups. Is a 4-game still a big enough slate to where there are a lot of viable lineups? Yeah, I think this is just building on the last question we answered, kind of talking about sim diversity. So, even if this was a 4-game, I would still be okay using sim diversity at 9. I think that the only time I would probably want to use sim diversity 10, where we're taking single slate optimals to, try and build the optimal lineup, where I am very concerned about sim integrity, it's probably on showdowns and 2-game slates for sure. I think 3-game slate is kind of where you could go either way. That's where the water gets like a little muddier. Maybe the optimal is found, maybe it's not, maybe you got to get really close. So I think like on a 3-game slate, I'm open to trying out sim diversity 9 and seeing where that goes. Or, you can also try sim diversity 10. That's okay too. But I think that, showdown in 2-game for sure, you probably want to use Sim Diversity 10. And then after that, you could use either or, some combination depending on the contest type. Maybe you want to use Sim Diversity 10 for your diversifiers where you're 150 maxing, and then use like lower diversity for your single entry and 3 max. I think that is an okay approach too, especially when so many people, if you are 150 maxing, are maxing out, are putting in a lot of lineups. I think that could make some sense. I do see some viability for it in that type of format. All right. Next question here from Jay and Zook. And this is our last question in the Discord. Haven't seen any questions roll in the YouTube chat. So if anybody has any questions, now is a great time to get them in. We'll see what we do after this one. All right. Question is there a way to see points per minute? And also, is there a way to edit minutes projected if we think a certain player will play more? And then follow up to that was, I've noticed other people rocking a SaberSim avatar on DK at the top. Is there an incentive to doing that, or just they rep in the brand? Okay, so I will answer this first part first. Is there a way to see points per minute? And also, is there a way to edit minutes projected? So there's not a great way to do it in the app. You're going to have to like bust out the calculator app on the computer. If you have a calculator, I keep one close here. So if you want to know the fantasy points per minute of a player, all you got to do is you take this my projection and divide it by minutes. So I would do for Giannis here, projected 57.48 fantasy points, and then projected 33.37 minutes. I would just do a calculation there. So 57.48 divided by 33.37. I can just do that here, and I'll show you guys. This is something I do regularly myself because I like to look at it from this standpoint. So I'm just going to do 57.48 divided by 3.37. Fantasy points per minute would be 1.72 approximately. So let's say, I'm doing research. I'm looking at, all of the research forms that Jordan and I went over in the NBA research video over on the YouTube channel. I'm looking at, basketball reference. I'm looking at popcorn machine. I'm looking at court IQ. I'm looking at depth charts. I'm looking at a bunch of different things, which are all free to use tools. And I think that Giannis is going to play 36 minutes and not 33. I think his average is closer to 36 for whatever reason for this game, right? So I'm just going to take that fantasy point per minute that I did on my calculator of 1.72, and then I'm going to multiply it by 36. That's going to come out to 62.01. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to change his projection to 62.01. This is a way of kind of getting what you want with a workaround, right? I'm not directly affecting the minutes, but I am using the fantasy point per minute that SaberSim has as a baseline and adjusting the minutes from there. So it's not perfect. I'm not directly adjusting the minutes here. To the builder, this looks like a fantasy point per minute adjustment, but really I am just trying to find a way to kind of hijack the builder into giving me closer to what I want. So this is how I would go about adjusting the minutes, which is something I do normally, right? I look at the fantasy point per minute. I'm not questioning the fantasy point per minute that SaberSim is providing, because a lot of things go into that, right? Matchups, pace, stats, things that I'm not looking into, things that I couldn't handle on my own. So I am trusting SaberSim to give me the fantasy points per minute, but then I am specifically looking at the minutes and how much I think players are going to play and adjusting the projection to account for that difference if I think it's there. So this is exactly how I would do it. And then let's say James said, thank you. That's what I've been doing. Just seeing if I was missing an easier method. Yeah, not really. I think this is like the most efficient way to do it at the moment. So for anybody watching, that is how I would do it. That is also how Jordan and I lay it out. If anybody's looking into, trying to add value through research, you can go over to the YouTube channel, go over to playlists, go over to how to beat NBA DFS in 2022. And we go into like advanced research strategies about how to find situations where there is inherently not a lot of data, which makes it hard to model, and where you could take a stand in one direction or another in this upgrade your NBA DFS process with this NBA research strategy. It was a really good video. We had a really good time doing it. So if you haven't watched it, I would recommend checking it out. All right. Looks like that is our last question at the moment. I'm actually going to bring up my screen. We're gonna look at the NBA injury report for today. Looks like we got a 5-game slate. If anybody has any questions, now is a great time to get them in while we do kind of like our injury first look, something we've been doing to kind of kill some time and let people ask some questions while we are waiting. So gonna give this a run through here. I like to do this and one more question from JN Zook here asked, what about the avatar? Yes. So that is part of our winner circle promotion. So if you go over to sabersim.com, up at the top, you're going to see the winner circle. And what this is, it's like kind of like a rewards program where basically, the rules are up here under this read full rules. And what it is I'll roll through this here. If you finish in the top 5 of a contest for at least $1,000, only the prize for your highest finishing entry will count. The prize must be at least 10 times the entry fee. The contest must have at least 100 entrants, and you must use one of our logos, which you can find up at the top that we had up here under this SaberSim.com DFS logos and avatars. There's like a FanDuel version, a DraftKings version, a Yahoo version, and if you are using it, you finish at the top of a contest, we get prizes away. So if you win $1 million, win a Million Maker, you get free SaberSim for life. You get a engraved custom Rolex. You get a swag box. You get a t-shirt, hoodie, hat, and backpack. That is at the highest tier. And then at the 100K tier, you get a free year of SaberSim, a swag box, t-shirt, hoodie, hat, backpack. And then the prizes go down. So, along with all these great prizes, you get to be featured here on the page. We have a special section for the Max Challenge winners, which were all the people who participated in the Max Challenge that ended up taking the contest down. We had 4 winners take down the Max Challenge this year. So this is why people wear the avatar, to get all of these free awesome prizes. At the 10K tier, you get 3 months of SaberSim. And then at the 1K tier, I believe you get 1 month of SaberSim along with the swag box, which includes the t-shirt. And I think it comes with koozies and a water bottle, if I'm not mistaken. You get some stickers as well. So that is a free promotion that we do. When you win, you just got to post it on Twitter, tag us at SaberSim, and our support team will reach out to you and let you know about all of the awesome prizes. So fun promotion we do. It's great to see people winning and repping the brand. So get in on the action, download an avatar, and take down a contest and share it on Twitter, and we will get you some free swag there. But good question. Thank you for reminding me about that one. All right. Still no more questions. Anybody has any questions, now is a great time to get them in. Let's see what we got today. Looks like we got a 5-game slate. Quite a lot of big names here questionable. Al Horford, Robert Williams, they both missed a game, I think, like last Wednesday. Haven't been keeping up if they've been playing or not since then. Cole Anthony was out yesterday, I believe, and Fultz just had like a huge game with him out. Precious here, Gary Trent, some smaller names, but still important here. Actually, is Precious, or am I thinking about somebody else here? I think Precious is a big name. 5,600, not definitely noteworthy, right? Look at all these minutes here. 33 minutes, approximately 27 minutes. So like that's a lot of minutes that got to get distributed. Will Jacob Poeltl play more, or is he still kind of like on a minutes limit, which he's been for a while? Anunoby out. So interesting to see what happens here with Toronto. Both of these games are at lock, so we should know what is going to happen from there. I think where it gets pretty interesting is this late window. We have 2 games starting, and then we have kind of like a big gap here before any late news comes out. So the fact that Jeremy Grant, Kyle Kuzma, and Klay Thompson are all questionable in the last 2 games of the night, could be some good opportunities to build in some late swap flexibility. And I think on these smaller slates, you're going to need to get different with ownership, ownership taken into account, with correlation taken into account. I think any ownership discount that you can get for good plays is ultimately a good thing, right? So I think tonight on like a 5-game slate, I would probably be interested in building in some late swap flexibility and optimizing for a scenario where I can get to the best plays if these players do indeed sit. So seeing our questionables, let's go see who's out. Oh, wow. I did not know that Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Jason Tatum are all out tonight. So we should see probably a lot of value here on Boston. So we just go to Boston. Malcolm Brogdon we're showing him as questionable. It looks like he is indeed in from like 36 minutes ago, according to Basketball Monster. So him playing, Derek White has been crushing it lately. So, probably we'll see some value here. I think especially if like Horford or Robert Williams end up missing, but definitely keeping my eye on Boston today. I do think, we're going to see the ownership probably just like shoot through the roof for these guys. A lot of times from what I've noticed is that value at lock tends to get inflated ownership. It is like the value after lock that tends to get the depressed ownership, which is why I'm very interested in optimizing for a scenario where, either Clay sits, Kuzma sits, or Jeremy Grant sits. In this later window, you'll probably get the biggest ownership edge from doing something like that. Let's see who else is out here. We did see that Anunoby was out already. Malik Monk, one of the first guys off the bench, probably worth noting. Maybe Kevin Huerter plays a couple extra minutes, not sure. Nurkic is still out. So, with Nurkic out, and then if Jeremy Grant sits, that'll be interesting, right? Maybe Trenton Watford gets a lot of playing time. In my opinion, I think that Watford is the better fantasy producer over Eubanks. I think Eubanks has had a ton of opportunities and just has not been a big fantasy contributor. I don't know too much about basketball overall. Maybe he's a great defensive guy. Maybe, he's a role player, but if you give me the option between Watford and Eubanks, I'm probably leaning Watford, especially at lower salary here. And just about the same ownership at this time of the day. So those are things I'm thinking about ahead of tonight's slate. Those are things that I would recommend keeping your eye on. Not trying to give too many takes, but just trying to help you guys be on the lookout for things that could ultimately affect your fantasy lineups and just give you some thoughts about different ways to approach tonight's slate. But jumping back here, not seeing anything else come in here. It is a sad time of the year. Football is indeed over, but this is a great week to be playing DraftKings on NBA. They are running their Micro Millionaires promotion, which is basically where they try and promote bigger size contests for NBA for all the people, who are getting off of NFL and want to try a new sport. So definitely a great week to be playing contests. It's not only NBA. I think they're running for PGA. Daytona is coming up this weekend on the 19th for NASCAR. So they should have good contests across all the sports. If NBA is not your sport, I think tonight is a great opportunity to try out some of those Micro Millionaire contests because, after lock, there's only 2 late swap windows. So not a lot of monitoring and it shouldn't take up too much of your night looking at these 2 swap windows there. But just looking ahead to the week, guys, if anybody has any questions about golf strategy, I believe there's MMA this weekend. There's NASCAR. Still plenty of sports to talk about, even though football is over. But that being said, we are going to call it there for today. We'll be right back tomorrow for our Wednesday show, 2 p.m. Eastern. We do this show Monday through Friday. If I'm out, Jordan will pick it up. And appreciate Jordan one more time for picking up for me yesterday, was traveling. But until then, I will see you all. Good luck in your contests. If you guys are building lineups throughout the day and have questions, throw them in the Office Hours channel. Get us a steady queue of questions for tomorrow's show. All right, take care.